Okay, so the mail just arrived, and I just ordered from Target the hammerstorm. And part of my interest in this, because I wasn't so much interested if it was just another Hammershot reskin, but was watching the review videos, in particular from Wallcom, who is not a big fan of the Hammershot due to its performance, stock, and anyone I've ever purchased has been 55 to 60 feet per second out of the box. Now, this is a Hammershot that I recently did up in a video that I will link below. And I did not put a spacer in it, but I did put an upgrade spring. And I did not increase the seal, but it does perform above that 55-60 feet per second. However, I've never had it get above 80. This Hammershot here, I did a little bit of cosmetic work. I put the spring in it, painted this black, modified the trigger on this just like I did on the other one. And that is in the video, although I can't necessarily recommend or suggest it since I haven't tested this exhaustively or extensively, but it makes it easier to prime so that you can wield them one-handed, and I can literally go around using two at once. Now, you can't aim in two directions at once, but if you're going around a corner where, well, not so much a corner, but you're coming to, say, a T intersection where a hull is going this way, you can walk out covering both sides, and if you see somebody on either side, you can then adjust your attention to whichever blaster you have and take aim and fire. And for that, I think these are very, very useful in CQB situations, even though I can't really get them to hit beyond 80. But in his video, it was chronoing much higher than 55-60. And let me see this. Ooh, yeah. That is a much stronger hammer pull than a stock Hammershot. Interesting. One thing I can say right away I'm not a super huge fan of is whenever I saw this, I do have another Maverick, and I'd kind of wished I'd waited to integrate it. But now that I actually have this thing is huge. It is considerably larger than a Hammershot in a lot of respects. However, it does have a higher capacity. And the truth is, I suppose I could and probably will cut all this stuff off and minimize it, or who knows, maybe not. But the fact that I get something stock that can do the same as this modified is pretty cool. So I don't know if this spring, the upgrade spring, will fit in this, or if we're just going to have to wait until they come out with an upgraded spring. But just out of curiosity here, I'm going to take out my airsoft chronograph and load up these darts that are included with this, because they will then be brand new. Wow, that is big. Prime is not too bad, but it does feel a bit stronger than a stock Hammershot. And in my Hammershot video, I was talking about how I was really, really hoping that at some point they would just come out with like an N-Strike Elite version of the Hammershot, not a Zombie Strike, maybe a slightly different shell design, or maybe with the 2.0 we would see something, and who knows, maybe we will. But so far I haven't seen anything. But I guess maybe this is what we're going to get. I suppose they're answering our requests in some form. I'm going to load up just 3 darts in each one of these. Okay. Start off with the one that just has the upgrade spring but does not have the spacer. That did not read. Load up another dart. .76.1. Oops. Accidentally shot that the wrong way into the chronograph. 70.1. Did it again. Just want 3 darts. 53.3. So, one shot was basically stock hammer shot performance, and the other 2 were, you know, at or above elite ranges, but that sure isn't 90 feet per second or 120 feet per second. Now, the one that has an increased seal and the upgrades spring, as well as the spacer. Did it again. Didn't register. 52.1. That is terrible. But possibly I hit the inside of the chronograph. 60.9. Come on, give me above 70. I shot it into the chronograph again. Did it again. $54.3. Wow, that is super disappointing. I'm going to have to take this apart. I don't know why it's doing that. Because usually that one actually hits closer to 80. But for comparison, I'm just going to throw some in here. See how this one will do. So I feel like it'll be a bit easier for me to throw this. Or not throw it, but for me to shoot these through the chronograph. Since it has this nice big end strike barrel on the end of it that I can line up with this. Okay. $70.4. Put it over and show the individual readings as they happen. 70.4. Whoa. 85.5. This is better than my modified ones. $62.9. Not amazing, but not terrible. 77.9. 86.9. Wow. That's actually really impressive. 68. Decent. 79.7. 61.1. Let's go over and look at these. 61.1, 79.7, 68, 86.9, 77.9, 62.9, 85.5, 70.4. So yeah, that's pretty good. So one thing I had thought initially upon looking at this was noticing that one of the things with revolvers is the seal. And there's not a lot, especially for this being the budget Alpha Strike, there's not a lot of slop in here. So that's awesome. I would like to see how much seal there is on the plunger. And I'm also curious if I can put an upgrade spring in this. If it is the same length and looks the same, I'm probably going to remove one of these for the time being and put it in here, because I would like to see if I could get this up to 90, 100 with maybe some mid to low 80 off shots. Okay, so there it is. Doesn't look too much different than a hammer shot. Yeah, that seal is actually pretty good on those barrels, and this is held pretty firmly in place. There's a little bit of slack. So what I have here is a spring that comes from the Negotiator, and this is a stock spring from a hammer shot, and I'm going to line them up exactly there. This one is just a smidge longer and there's more coils in it. It's much harder to compress all the way down than the hammer shot one is, so I may be able to replace this with this, or perhaps not. Let's see how much compression I need to get here. First of all, I think it would compress and catch if I put the Negotiator in it, but the fact is I don't have a spare hammer shot upgrade spring. But just looking at it through the shell, it does look like it will take a hammer shot upgrade spring. Kind of wish I had one to put in there. And blessed be the fruit, all of these Nerf screws are the same length. Been taking apart and putting back together, taking apart my hammer shot over and over and over again, and it has not been very fun. Well, this is interesting. This spring is quite a bit shorter than the stock hammer shot spring. Wow, that is very interesting. I wonder. Okay, so unfortunately, in order to actually get at the internals of this, I had to disassemble this, which I didn't really want to do. And sure enough, it looked smaller, but it has the exact same amount of coils. It just has a significant amount of pre-compression. However, whenever you're compressing it to prime, I don't feel like you're even putting it all the way down. So I don't know if I can fit this spring in there and get it to prime, but I'm going to try and see what happens and check the chronograph results. But first, I have to get this back together. Spring is in, it does catch. Did they actually do anything to increase the power? I don't know, but let's find out. I'm going to use the same four of the same elites that it came with. And just for curiosity's sake, I'm going to use some Zurus, since those are the other dart that I have that are brand new. And for whatever reason, a lot of my spring breech loading blasters and also my front load, either single shot or revolvers or whatever, happen to like these. Okay, well, start off with the, uh-oh, there it goes. For some reason it did not rotate. That's not good. Start off with the elites. 69.2. I have a feeling. Why is this not? There it goes. Why is that not rotating? Weird. I may have to open it back up and fiddle with it. 72.4. $70.8. Again, it is not priming. Well, it's priming, it's not rotating. Weird. 85.2. See how it likes the Zuru X-Shot darts. 62.9. Apparently it does not like them. $82.6. That's definitely better. $79.8. That one did not register. I'll do another one. $77.7. So, no, that spring didn't seem to do a single solitary thing. Okay, so I figured out why it wasn't rotating. It's because this was twisting out of the way because I forgot to put the screw in that holds all this in place. And due to that, it was causing it to twist. I did, however, take off the plunger tube, and I just put one layer of electrical tape around it. I didn't want to put so much that had an airtight seal. I just wanted a little bit better seal. So we'll see if that helps. I also put some grease into the assembly and a little bit down here on the rod because, like I say, the spring is a little bit stronger. So I'll put it back together again and see if we have any differing results with the chronograph after those things. But I did not put the stock spring back into it yet. I have not done that. Okay. Screw that I forgot last time. Rather important. Oh yeah, well, it's just loosely sitting in there. There we go. And it's not tight on this, and there's nothing else really holding it in there. Oh, there we go. Nice crisp rotation. Okay. My other fear was that if this was moving out of place, then it was possibly causing a gap there. So throw the screws back into this and see if it will work out any better. Okay, I know I said I was going to put the stock spring back in, but I lied. I just couldn't help myself. It was quite a pain in the butt to get this in, but I did take out an upgrade spring from one of my hammer shots. Not the one I integrated with the Maverick shell. I like that one too much. I wouldn't do that. I took it out of the other one. It wasn't performing the greatest anyways. And I can just order another one for the future. But it was quite a pain to put this in, and it is bowing a bit. So, oops, sorry, bump the camera as quickly as possible. I am going to put this back in and secure it all, because these internals have been stretched about as far as they can go with this spring load. Now I'll put this back together, do some chrono shots. Back together, I have two older worn out Elite Darts, and then I have all the new Elite Darts loaded in. Go ahead and do 8 shots. Okay, and for these I got 73.3, 68.8, 72.2, 72.2, 84.5, 76.1, 74.6, 83.2, and the first one being 94.4, which got me really excited at first. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and use some brand new, never been fired, Dart Zone waffle heads that fit pretty snugly. Okay, so the waffle heads, 67.9, 85.2, 65.9, 88.1, 79.3, 83, 89.2, and then the first one coming in is somewhat shocking 97.5. I don't really know why that is. Weird. Maybe there's just one barrel in this revolver cylinder that has a bit tighter seal? I don't know. Well, that was a misread. Try that again. This is just weird. To me, anyways. 83.8. That's certainly not into the 90s. But it's definitely better than most of the hammer shot. Well, actually, all the hammer shot mods I've ever done. 73.7. That barrel has a nice snug fit. See what it does. 87.8. So yeah, maybe some of these just have a little more snugness than others. I did not remove the dart pegs. I don't really like doing that, honestly. Also left in the air restrictor. I don't like taking them out in the hammer shot style blasters because a couple that I've been entirely unsuccessful with, whenever I took them out, it created this weird dead space area. And then, yeah, the blaster actually worked worse with an upgrade spring. I mean, is the upgrade spring worth getting and putting in? I think if you have one lying around. I mean, mine wasn't really lying around as in a blaster, but it honestly does better in this. I mean, you really can feel the weight whenever you're priming it, too. That's no joke. This would be pretty cool. I don't know if the trigger will fit from the aftermarket steel triggers, but this would definitely be a cool blaster to put it in. I mean, I do have to admit there is a lot of cool things that you could do with attachments. This is the mediator barrel from Gavin Fuzzy. I put a ring of orange EVA foam on the end, partially for safety, but also in case I drop it. And this is a EVA foam bayonet I made a while back out of some scope or other that I had 4 or 5 of. And this is just 2 foam mats glued together that I cut out to this shape of kind of a Bowie knife and attached to it. So now I have a nice little stabber. Or you could put any other giant, insane, absurd barrel on the end of this if you wanted. This one is actually part of a Busby barrel, so there's no interference. It's from a snipe. I cut the front end off for a Nerf rival Chaos. And I have this one, the remainder of it essentially, that, if I can get it off here, I just put a N-Strike barrel end on with, once again, super glue and baking soda. Had to do a lot of sanding and filing to get it just right. I left it a little bit snug, so it'll go on a little tighter, but I did sand down as much in these areas as I could. And yeah, but no, there's a lot of fun things you could do with this, not to mention optics and sights. Or you could put a foregrip on it. Looks kind of ridiculous, but you could. And a barrel. And these are the sights I was talking about. They're 3D printed by 3D printed solid. They're pretty cool. They have an Allen set screw on top, and they also have another variant that has set screws on the side and it clamps together. I just purchased some of those recently. I would never actually run that. But yeah, even without it, it does look pretty wicked, I think. So that's always, you know, another option. So I also have these sights here, which are similar to the other sights that I have as far as the general shape and all of that, but the difference is their height and how they go on. This one requires an Allen key. These you just screw in from the side. Probably ultimately gonna run these because I feel like the orange does match up a bit better with the orange on the trigger than say these, which are a much lighter orange. And you can pick these up from 3D printed solid on Etsy. I'll try to remember to put links in the description for that. But I'm going to take this apart again and make an EVA foam gasket to put in between the end of the plunger tube and this. I don't want to put too much, so I've got a 1mm piece. It's a very thin piece of EVA foam. I'm going to take this apart again, get an impression of the current gasket, and then use that impression to cut out my new one. Okay, I've zoomed in here, and I'll show you. There's not much space between the cylinder and the plunger tube. It's literally just enough to slip in this 1mm piece of EVA foam. So I think that'll be hopefully not too much. If it's too thick, it'll operate very, very stiffly. Okay, I took my impression off of the original gasket. Now I'm going to very carefully cut this out and glue it on. Okay, there is my new orange gasket. I glued this on with some super glue and held it in place till it's done. Doing its super glue thing. Now I'm going to take some lithium grease and I'm going to put that on the outside of my gasket. The EVA foam, especially the cheaper craft foam like this, is pretty porous and it's also pretty soft, so it does compress pretty easily, and hopefully that will help with what we're trying to do here. That grease get on there all around it. Hopefully that will help it create a seal. Okay, throw it back together. The 0 darts still, but 83, 91, 103, 101, 84, error, 83, 75. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty excited for getting the 103. But yeah, the seal was a bit much, even being that it's only 1mm thick. So I did have to press it down, disassemble the blaster again, and sort of press on it and get it worked in, put some more grease on it, put it back together, and then it was rotating nice and crisp again. But it was just a smidge too much I am probably going to do a little bit of painting on the shell, especially in some of the deco areas. Okay, we're going to start off with some Zuru darts, X-Shot, and the tape measure is at 25 feet from firing position. Where I'm standing is about 40. From where I'm actually holding the blaster is closer to 35. So hopefully that was a fair representation of what I've been experiencing, which is where the Zuru darts do get a little bit higher FPS, but they just kind of fly all over the place. So now I've got some of those brand new waffle heads from Dart Zone loaded up. Let's see how those do. Ooh. Whoa, that one went hard. I actually had, I don't know if they're exactly direct hits, but what I'm aiming for is that circle, the yellow and red circle right in the center of that white square. And a couple of them came pretty close. That's not bad for no brass or anything fancy like that, I don't think. Okay, same test with the Dart Zone waffle heads, but this time from 25 feet. Oops. Okay, same test again from 25 feet, but this time using the Zuru X-Shot darts. Okay, so the X-Shot darts do a lot better at this range out of this blaster with the things that I've done to it. But, as usual, if I have to pick between the two, I would probably just use the waffle heads because I think it's just a lot easier to hit what you're aiming at. Okay, at this point of the video takes an interesting turn. I had posted, one photo of this on Instagram, and I got a comment from Galathorn saying, because I had mentioned I don't know if I should minimize this or if I should maximize it, essentially. And his suggestion was to use the bulk and essentially make a giant gun blade. And that's what I've been constructing for the last hour and a half at a whim. And I didn't want to just glue this directly to it. In fact, I want to be able to take this off and put it on other things as I see fit. And this is made entirely out of EVA foam. These pieces here are just scraps that I had. They're from EVA foam floor mats, and I just linked them together, and that's what I used for the base of this. But I had a bunch of these strips laying around, so I cut them up and used them on the top, put them on the bottom. I still need to Dremel this. And then this is another random piece of floor mat. All this is that. These skulls came from Halloween decorations, and skulls because, you know, skulls. And yeah, and then I made a tip. I said I need to sand all this down, and then I'm going to paint it all black first. I don't know what I'm going to do else with it, but start with that. And I did paint some of these accents gray already. I did mask these off and paint them. For this, I used Duplicolor vinyl and fabric specialty coating, This is, of course, gloss black. That's also what I'm going to use to primer this once I get it all sanded up. But since I wanted to make it removable, what I figured out was by taking top rails and putting them on the other rail, I realized they match up and lock in really tightly. So what I did was I have this old ruined Strife that is burned out and has a slew of other problems I'm not going to fix. And I just cut the top out of it, sanded, trimmed it, and reversed it. And what I mean by reversed it is that originally this is where your little stopper thing was sitting, inside of here, like that. So I flipped them around, got them measured as close as I could, then used another piece as filler. And now I have one end that is closed and one end that is open. So I can just simply slide it onto the rail. But it's on there really, really tight. Like, that is not coming off. You have to slide it straight off. So I have to make sure that I attach it to this strong enough that it will not come detached from the foam bopper thing that I've made that looks like a crazy blade. Dust everywhere from sanding. I need to clean that up. I need to clean this up. And then I'm going to glue this on with super glue initially, and then all other manner of adhesives and filling that I can do to make this as solid as possible so that this does not come off of this, so that it is beyond permanently attached. Whatever that means, I don't really know. There it is, fully dried, and it's definitely on there. It doesn't shake or wobble or rattle or make any noise like usual Nerf attachments. Okay, so that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you found this entertaining. If nothing else, maybe got an idea for how to make an attachment from some old Nerf shells you may have laying around. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a great day. I mean, come on, that's just epic. I'm sorry, that's just so hilarious and so over the top.